Welcome to another edition of In Conversation with me, Doug Harris. And today I'm delighted to welcome to the program Johan Strum, film producer, international businessman, but born in Blackpool.
That's always a surprise, and with a name like Johan.
I know, I could not believe it. Johan, I mean, we've got some great things to talk about, some great films that you've made that we want to talk about. But fill us in a little bit of your background in growing up and becoming an international businessman and then getting into films. Take us through some of that.
Yeah, Doug, well, that's interesting. My dad is Dutch, so that's where the Johan comes from. And in the Second World War, he was in the Navy. And when Holland capitulated, he was with the Free Forces, came over to England. And I think he had his vacation pass to go to Blackpool, of all places, and met my mom. And they got married. And, of course, I happened to come along. And so we lived in England for 4 years until I was 4 years old. Then went to Holland because my dad was part of Shell. He joined Shell after the war. And they sent him into Indonesia, and my mom decided to live in Holland. My sister is actually, strangely enough, she's Dutch because she was born in Holland. I still have a British passport that I have. And then at the age of 10, my parents decided to immigrate, and they went to South Africa. And so I spent bringing up my time out in Africa. I mean, I really do love South Africa. It's a great place and great bringing up. And started when I left school, I studied as an accountant. I did my articles for accounting and became a CPA, but I never wanted to be an accountant. The reason I did my articles was because I wanted to go into business, so I didn't know what I need to do. I thought, well, the best thing is if I learn accounting, at least I have an understanding about accounting. From there on, I went into accounting, became the financial manager for Kentucky Fried Chicken.
We won't hold that against you, I promise.
Well, I see there's a lot of Kentucky Fried Chickens here. Then I found a financier friend, and we started the chain of opposition to Kentucky, Mr. Rooster's Chicken. And I did that and sold out at the age of, I was just over 30 years old. And I decided, that's it, I'm retiring. Don't need to work anymore. And so that's part of...
In this, when did your Christian background begin? I mean, it's, you're obviously heavily into business, traveling around. When did you become a Christian in that sense?
Well, strangely enough, that if you'd have spoken to my dad and love him, he did at the age of I think 89 with Richard Kent, gave his life to Jesus. So, Richard, that's on your program a lot. But he grew up in a hard time after the war. And he would have said he was, in inverted commas, Christians. He tried to send me to church, Sunday school, which was kind of boring. It was these old, cold, grey stone buildings. And he gave me money for my collection box. But what I did, I realized that the teacher was teaching about Moses, and I'd learned that he was in the desert for 40 years. So instead of going to Sunday school, I went to the movies. And maybe that's why I became a movie fundi in my life. And the reason I became a Christian was I actually was disproving my hobby was, I was looking for a hobby. I was going to disprove the Bible. Because I had this one guy come to see me one time, and he spoke to me about this thing called the rapture. And I thought, this guy's a space cadet. He's, sniffing something up his nose. And I thought, this is crazy. And 6 months later, I picked up a book. It was called The Late Great Planet Earth. I thought it's the same kind of thing. We have a world war. We dig ourselves out of the bunker. And we save the world. And I thought, this is the same kind of nonsense this guy was telling. I said, no. Now I'm gonna research, and I'm going to disprove this whole thing. And I did it by not reading any Christian books, because I thought these were all biased for Christianity. I took all scientific and medical and military books, and the more I'm disproving, the more, God's got a sense of humor. The more I'm proving that, hey, this is actually on. And of course, about 30% of the Bible is prophecy, and I thought, well, if that 30% is right, I better take a better look at the 70%. And 20 years ago, I was listening to television. Billy Graham was there. And, of course, I listened to him, and that was it. I gave my life to Jesus, and that's where my Christian life started.
And the rest, they say, is history.
History, yes.
And when did this change? I mean, you're now very much involved in media, but
yes.
Part of that very much is the filmmaking, and so we're going to get on to talk about your latest animated film in a moment. But how did you get into filming? You said you sold out your chain. You felt like retiring. What happened to get you back where you are now?
I went into, because I was bored, as all entrepreneurial people are. I got bored. I retired for a week and thought, I better get to do something. And then I got involved in real estate. I really enjoyed it. I started developing timeshare resorts, and I've developed shopping centers and all that kind of stuff. So I was actually very well off financially, doing exceedingly well. And 14 years ago, I know the time and the date, I now become a Christian. It was 6 years after I became a Christian. I was praying one morning, and I heard God's voice. And, it's a kind of funny thing when you say, well, did you hear God's voice? Well, I know it was God's voice. I believed I could hear it as audible as I'm hearing you, but it was the still voice in my heart. And God said to me, Johan, I want you to go make disciples of all nations through the television and the movie industry. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. I'm a real estate developer. I know how to develop real estate. I know how to develop property. What do I know about television? What do I know about movies? And, for 6 months I debated, I really debated God, because I thought, this is funny, this is weird. And I found all reasons and all excuses. And I was living at that time between the United States and South Africa. And because of my green card, I had to go back every so many months to the States. And this time I decided to take my whole family along and have a vacation. So my daughter, who's now 24, was 10 years old at that time. And I said to sweetheart, we're going to have a nice vacation to America. And it was bedtime. And she says, thank you, Daddy, kissed me and went to bed. And then God laid it onto me. He says, Johan, you need to believe me like a child. And I said, okay. He said, she didn't ask you, did you have the money? Can the pilot fly? Is there enough fuel in the plane? And so on. And I said, okay, Lord, I'll go and get involved in this discipling all nations through the media. And then I started off, and I thought, well, God wants me to do it. I'm not a kind of guy that, God says wait, but, it's
off.
me, I'm going. I said, okay, find some guy and that's done made some adverts. We're now going to make movies, documentaries. We fly to Madagascar, we fly all over. At the end of it, I'd spent $1.5 million, made 3 movies which were totally flops. And what I didn't know is how not to make movies. So I had my school fee, my university bill paid for, done, and I said, okay, Lord, now what do we do? And then God laid it on my heart. He says, Johan, you're a property developer. And at that time, I was busy with a housing estate of about 300 houses. I'd built a shopping center, just finished that. And he showed me that although I was a property developer, I never laid a brick, never changed the plug, never painted the wall. didn't do any of those things, wasn't an engineer, wasn't an accountant, that I was good at orchestrating, getting the right teams together and making it happen. So I said, okay, God, I got the picture. And what I did, I started to look for top people in the industry. I found Reg Vandenberg in South Africa. He is the director and producer of the Gospel of Matthew Acts, done a lot of movies. Came to me, got the story of Ian McCormack, his near-death experience, and that's how I got to meet Dr. Richard Kent. And I started making the movie The Lazarus Phenomena, which, although it was a very low-budget movie, has not only paid financially well, is now in 71 different languages, traveled the world, and is a very successful evangelical movie.
So was that what you would say your first hit?
Yeah, that was my first, I want to call it real movie. Yeah. The other one that was my school fees. That was my,
Right.
So then I went there and I did a couple of live action movies. But then I really felt that the movie that touched my heart a long time ago, and I believe was the seed that God had planted in my heart, but only exploded when I was 47 years old, was the movie of Ben-Hur. Right. Now, I went to see Ben-Hur because of the chariot race, not because of Jesus. Yeah. But the Jesus affected me there, and that really touched my heart inside. And I always believed there was a Jesus, but I didn't understand the whole fullness of what Jesus was about, why he died, and what he did for us. And I realized that you've got to plant those seeds. You've got to become a seed sower. I wasn't called. I think all of us, as business people, when we give our lives to Jesus, we all of a sudden want to become a pastor. And I always say, my wife would make a good pastor's wife. I always blame it on her. But, that's not what God wants. God says he's got enough pastors. He wants movie makers. Yes. He wants people in the industry, any kind of industry, media, so that's where he needs me.
Do you see this? I mean, do you feel as Christians, we're using this sort of media enough? Do you feel there is so much more that we could do?
Definitely. Look, when I was young and when I grew up, it was very easy to identify things. The Roy Rogers, the cowboys wore the white hats and the bad guys wore the black hats. Was easy. If you look at the media today, it's confusing. The bad guys, the good guys, the good guys, the bad guys. Who's who? It's always the police are the bad guys. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's just as many good policemen. Look at the guy. What's that other one? Where the demon comes and saves mankind, and all of those things. Arnold Schwarzenegger uses a bazooka to drive the devil back into hell. It's kind of confusing for the children that are growing up. Yeah. And we've taken Christianity out of schools, out of movies. You can't pray in a movie. In the olden days, the soldiers used to pray in the trenches. Well, I'm sure they do today, but it's not shown on the movie. So, yes, I think we have such an important part, and especially, and that's why I'm concentrating today on the animation side, because of the young people.
Let's come on to that. I mean, because the latest animated film is The Lion of Judah.
Yes.
It's going to be released here later. We'll talk about that. But before we start talking about it, we've got the trailer here. Let's watch the trailer to this, what is a very, I think, obviously professional film that can really make an impact on people's lives. Let's just watch the trailer.
What is it?
Why, it's peculiar. That's what it is.
My name is Judah. I'm a lion. Dun, da, da. Roar! This is our chance.
For what?
Now! Freedom!
What does that say? Somebody read it on the box.
Jerusalem is where the Passover festival is, I'm afraid.
A quest to save a lamb.
The ancient word says that the wages of sin is death.
Whatever you do, just stay close to me.
God has allowed it that something can take the place of man to pay for the things he's done wrong.
And a lamb on a quest to save the world.
How dare you desecrate the halls of the Lord's chosen?
You, the Lord's chosen.
Who didn't know if we send from the ark to look for dry land?
A raven.
In an extraordinary salvation parable.
Raven? Get out of here. The king is on his way.
The news you all bring means the time of our cleansing is near.
Sorry, there is one more of us.
I keep telling them they'll never find him in this city.
The skies, boys! To the skies!
Carry me away where the night aren't so cold. I don't want to die.
Oh, not him, not him.
How? How could they do this?
And my heart will sing 'cause of you,
My!
The Lion of Judah in 3D.
Oh, this all has been too much. Happy, sad, scared, sad, happy. I could do with a lie down.
Definitely.
Coming to a theater near you.
I have to say I'm already, captured by it. It's all I've seen of it. How long did it take to make?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
And what? I mean, I think I know, but I would like you to share. What are you really wanting the message that you really want to bring across from this?
Well, the Lion of Judah, firstly, we're still in the entertainment business. So I don't want children to feel they're going to Sunday school. It's like, go back to the Ben-Hur with Charlton Heston. You're going to the movies. You're not going to church. And that's the way we want to bring it out. And the message here is it's intertwined in that biblical time. Because from an animal point of view, you can bring a different perspective. This little lamb called Judah is a perfect little lamb. And his mother said to him, well, you're going to save mankind. And as the Old Testament says, that the shedding of blood has to happen. And this little lamb takes it differently. He didn't realize, being an unblemished little lamb, that he has to be sacrificed. And of course, he now thinks he's a lion because he's going to save mankind, and that's what he's thinking of doing. And I've always thought, let's look at the Bible. There were animals in the stable. There were animals in the ark. There were animals all over the Bible. How would they think? Did when Jesus told Peter, the cock is going to crow 3 times, it wasn't as if an angel went to a rooster and says, hold on here, now's the time to crow. Well, our rooster just happens to be there and crowed 3 times at the time of Peter giving away Jesus. So it is really the Ben-Hur philosophy intertwined, touch the heart, that people who watch it, parents who bring their children to watch it, and children who watch it, will show the replacement of the lamb sacrifice, that Jesus died for all of us. Right at the end, he's saved. And I'm not going to tell the whole story because that'll give it away, but it's a great adventure.
I mean, you can see that, and I think anybody that watches that trailer will be saying, hey, I want to see that. When are folks going to be able to see it in this country? I think it's already out in America.
It's out in America. It'll be coming out here in your summer holidays in July, is when it's coming out.
And it will be in cinemas across the land? Is that how it's going to be?
Nationwide.
And so you will keep us in touch with that so we can let folks know exactly when it's going to come out and what's going to happen to it.
Right, definitely we'll do that.
Yeah. What do you really hope will happen? I mean, are you just going to show the film and leave everybody to their own devices? Or would you be looking to, in some way, follow up people that have seen this film? How do you get involved in that side of things?
That's always a question most people ask us. And, you know, we're really the seed sowers. And we really believe that it's then the church to take over and to tend to the seed, and when it grows, and water it and make sure it comes out. We're having a different, more movies in the series. One is called, that we're working on right now, is called Bethlehem or Bust, and it's how the characters actually got to Bethlehem. How did they get there? And so we've got a variety, but we do have, we've got audiobooks, illustrated books. We've got a Line of Judah Bible, audio Bible, a little Bible. So we've got a lot of tools. We've got teaching for churches. We've got vacation Bible study. And all of that stuff we have available, which we'll supply to the churches, church groups that can take it. Now, the aim is, of course, that going through the cinema is to bring the unsaved people to the cinema, and hopefully the churches use it as an evangelical tool.
And so they can get that on animatedkids.com. Is
Animated
that?
Kids,
we'll bring that up on the screen. The kids has got a Z, as you say.
A Z, an American Z.
We called it a Z, but it's on the screen now.
An English Z, American Z.
And so churches can get that material, can look further, obviously, for this. Will churches be able to hire the film and show it, buy the film and show it? Is that going to be allowed so they can use it as an outreach as well?
Yes, we do, but we will first be doing it in the theater, because you find that is, in a way, a non-threatening for unbelievers to go to the theater. And, you know, Jesus said to us, going to the whole world. Well, the whole world goes to the cinema. So, you know, and the whole world, of course, watches television. So we want to bring it out there, and it's a 3D movie, so it shows better 3D. Churches are not equipped to do 3D screenings. So, yes, it'll be a cinema release first, then a church, in the church release afterwards.
So, I mean, what you really would, I guess, want is for churches to get right behind this, and when they know it's coming to their area, invite people along, make it an outreach to the local cinema, get youth clubs to go, and Sunday schools. Is that your desire?
Yes, that's very much our desire. We have a company in the UK that will be handling all of that, that will be getting the church support, will be dealing with churches, going to pastors, be emailing them, newslettering them, keeping them informed on the Line of Judah movie, and getting as much help as we can from them. You know.
And so you see this as something really that churches should say, hey, look, you can use this. You can take this. It's neutral in that sense. But it's something you can really use to get the message. I think especially to younger people, but I think even the parents will get it. When you see some of these wonderful animated films in the cinema, I mean, parents get as much involved in them as the kids do anyway, don't they?
They very much do. We tested it on 3 different groups. We tested on Christian, parents and kids. We tested it on non-believer or marginal people, and then we actually tested on people who claimed they were atheists. And we had a reaction from all of them, which we noticed. And one of the things I noticed most of all, when we don't refer to Jesus in the movie as Jesus, but the king who was born in the stable. The kids from believing parents went to the mothers and says, the king is Jesus. The ones who weren't very going much to church, or didn't go to church at all, maybe on Christmas, they went around and says, who is the king? which puts the mother or the father in a position where they've got to start answering questions. And then the funny reaction was from the atheist parents. We asked them, would you allow your children to watch this movie? And it was a utterly amazing reaction. They said, yes, but over Christmas or Easter. Now, I'm still trying to figure out why, just in those two. Maybe it was, well, just in case there is a God, I can say I've done it over those religious holidays or, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so, it's a very interesting reaction. In other words, they obviously understood that it was about Jesus or God or in some way. They obviously fully understood that. And just wanted, you know, to be in that particular time.
Right. It was really strange reaction because, you know, when you watch the movie or the bulk of the part of the movie, you really don't know that it's a faith-based movie, and you really don't link back the animals who they were.
Right.
That they were actually the animals that were in the stable when Jesus was born.
Johan, we've run out of time. Thank you so much. Make
pleasure.
sure you keep up to date with this film. We'll be letting you know. Go and see it. Go and use it. Bless you. See you again very soon. Bye for now.